The first person who told me my entire family wasn't coming to my wedding was the florist. She stood there awkwardly beside buckets of white roses, holding her clipboard, glancing between me and the empty rows of chairs like she didn't know how to say it. "Stella, are you sure the guest list is right?" she asked gently. I frowned. "Of course it is." "Why?" She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "Because I just received 8 cancellation calls from people with the same last name as you." My stomach dropped. 8. 8 members of my family. I laughed nervously and grabbed my phone. "That's impossible," I said. My mom literally helped plan this, but as I scrolled through my messages, the truth hit me like a punch to the chest. No confirmations. No "see you tomorrow," no travel updates, nothing. Just silence. And suddenly, a memory replayed in my mind. My mother's voice from the night before. Soft. Dismissive. "Sweetheart, maybe we'll try to come. It's just such a long drive, 2 hours." 2 hours was apparently too far for my wedding. But somehow, my family had managed to fly 15 states for my sister's gender reveal party just 1 month earlier. And that was the moment I realized something I should have understood years ago. My wedding wasn't important to them. But what they didn't know was that the man I was marrying was the billionaire investor they'd been desperately trying to impress for the last 3 years. And 34 days later, when the truth came out, my phone rang 215 times. But by then, it was far too late. My name is Stella. I'm the middle child in a family that's always revolved around my older sister, Madison. Madison was the golden child, the perfect one, the one who could do no wrong. Growing up, everything was always about her. Her dance recitals, her college acceptance, her engagement party, her baby announcements. If Madison sneezed, the entire family rushed to bring tissues. If I achieved something, it was usually met with polite silence. I learned early not to expect much. So when I got engaged to Daniel, I honestly didn't expect my family to be overly excited. But I also didn't expect what happened next. Because 1 month before my wedding, Madison announced she was pregnant. And suddenly, my wedding disappeared from existence. Instead, my family planned the most ridiculous gender reveal party I had ever seen. I'm not exaggerating. They chartered 2 private jets. 2. My parents flew relatives in from across the country. My aunt coordinated matching outfits for 50 guests. There were fireworks, a drone show, a live band. The party cost $40,000. And my mother proudly told everyone it was the most important family celebration of the decade. My wedding invitations had gone out 3 weeks earlier. No one mentioned them once. Not during dinner, not during speeches, not even privately. At one point during the party, I stood beside my cousin Rachel and watched my mother cry tears of joy as blue confetti exploded over the lawn. Rachel leaned toward me and whispered quietly, "Your wedding's still happening, right?" I forced a smile. "Yeah." "Next month," she nodded slowly. Then said something that stuck with me. "I hope people actually show up." At the time, I laughed it off. I thought she was joking. But the first red flag came 2 weeks later. My Aunt Carol called me. "Sweetheart," she said hesitantly, "are you sure your wedding is still the same date?" "Yes," I replied. "Why?" There was a pause. Then she said something strange. "Your mother told everyone it might be postponed." My heart skipped. "Postponed?" "Yes," she said carefully. "She said it's probably just a small courthouse ceremony now." I felt my stomach twist. "That's not true," I said. Another pause. "Oh," my aunt said quietly. Then she changed the subject. But that conversation sat in the back of my mind like a ticking clock. Something wasn't right. Still, I tried to ignore it. I kept planning, confirming vendors, finalizing seating charts, sending reminders. But little things kept happening. Family members stopped responding to messages. Group chats went quiet. My cousin Mark accidentally double-booked a business trip. My uncle said travel would be difficult. And then came the phone call from my mother. "Sweetheart," she said in that same soft voice. "We're trying our best to make it, but the drive is just exhausting. 2 hours. 2 hours was apparently unbearable. But somehow, they had flown 15 states for Madison's party. The night before my wedding, I sat in my apartment staring at the RSVP list. 38 family members had been invited. Only 2 had confirmed. Rachel and my grandfather. Everyone else had either canceled or disappeared. I felt embarrassed, humiliated. But Daniel squeezed my hand and said something I'll never forget. "Let them miss it," he said calmly. "They're the ones losing something." I didn't realize how true that statement was at the time. Because Daniel wasn't just the man I loved. He was also something my family had been chasing for years. Daniel Reyes was a private investor. Quiet. Low profile. The kind of man whose name rarely appeared in headlines. But in business circles, he was legendary. Over the past decade, Daniel had funded more than 30 companies. And several of them had become multi-million-dollar brands. My family owned a chain of small clothing boutiques. 3 stores across 2 states. For the past 3 years, they'd been desperately searching for a large investor to expand. They talked about it constantly. Family dinners were filled with conversations about funding, partnerships, scaling operations. And there was one investor they kept mentioning over and over again. Daniel Reyes. The man who had recently invested in 2 retail brands that exploded in value. They emailed him. They pitched him. They even tried contacting his assistants. But Daniel never responded. Because he hated cold business pitches. And he definitely hated people who only valued others for money. So when we started dating, I didn't tell my family who he really was. To them, he was just Daniel. A quiet guy who worked in finance. And on my wedding day, they decided he wasn't worth a 2-hour drive. The ceremony was small. Only 15 guests, friends, co-workers, Rachel and my grandfather. And honestly, it was beautiful. There was no drama, no chaos, just love. But something strange happened 34 days later. Daniel hosted a charity gala in New York. 400 guests, major business leaders, investors, press. It was the first public event where he officially introduced me as his wife. And when the photos went online, everything changed. Because suddenly, my phone started ringing. Over and over and over, calls, messages, voicemails, 215 of them. My mother left 14 voicemails alone. My sister sent 30 messages. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly remembered my name. "Stella, why didn't you tell us Daniel was that Daniel? We would have come to the wedding. This must be a misunderstanding." But the most unbelievable moment came 3 days later. Daniel invited me to attend a business gala for investors and partners. 400 people. Luxury ballroom. Press cameras everywhere. As we arrived, the event coordinator pulled Daniel aside. "Sir, there's a situation at the entrance." Daniel frowned. "What situation?" She hesitated. "Some people claiming to be family members are demanding entry." I walked toward the entrance. And there they were. My mother, my father, Madison, my aunts, uncles, cousins, all dressed in formal clothes, 23 of them, standing there like they belonged. My mother rushed toward me. "Sweetheart," she cried dramatically. "We came to support you." I stared at her. "Support me?" "Yes," she said quickly. "Of course, we're family." Behind her, I saw Madison smiling awkwardly. Then my father leaned forward. "We heard Daniel might be interested in retail partnerships." That's when I realized something. They weren't here for me, they were here for him. But what they didn't know was that I had receipts. Every canceled RSVP, every message, every excuse, and most importantly, a recording. 3 weeks earlier, my cousin Rachel had accidentally recorded a family group call. On that recording, my mother told 23 relatives something unforgettable. Don't worry about Stella's little ceremony, she said dismissively. Save your energy for Madison's baby events. So standing there, in front of my entire family, and 400 guests, I took a deep breath. Then I pulled out my phone and pressed play. My mother's voice echoed through the marble hallway. Stella's wedding isn't really important. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face turned white. Madison looked like she might faint. And Daniel simply stood beside me, calm, watching. Then he said something quietly. Security. 2 guards stepped forward. But before they escorted my family out, Daniel added one final sentence. Also, he said politely, our firm has officially declined the boutique expansion proposal submitted by the Whitmore family. My father's face drained of color. Because that proposal was their entire expansion plan. A $4.2 million investment. Without it, their business collapsed within 6 months. 3 boutiques closed. Their reputation in the retail industry was destroyed. And the last message my mother ever sent me said only 3 words. You ruined us. But she was wrong. They ruined themselves. All because they thought my wedding wasn't worth a 2-hour drive.